What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Happiness Discipline Podcast. Boy, I am here with a special man. If you don't know who Dr. Bryce Applebaum is, get hip. You need to know. I was at a retreat at a mastermind. I met a lot of amazing people, and to stand out among those amazing people, what Bryce did. So this was a mastermind of people in the health and wellness space. I'm talking healthcare practitioners that have broken out of the matrix. They're creating their own company to focus on root cause and functional medicine, and they're actually spending all of their time and energy making people live better. And they were at a business mastermind to figure out that side, because they've been so deep in the health space, they didn't know about the business side. And I met like 10 people that I was like, whoa, you changed my life. And I'm not saying this to gas you up, Bryce, but of everyone that I just felt a heart connection with, it was Bryce. And it's funny how things go, because we found we have a deep love for the Commanders, even though we're 3 and whatever, not a good year, but yeah, 3 and too many. We're from the same county. Ultimately, there was a lot of connections that we'll dive into. What Bryce is doing in his professional career is absolutely changing the game. He does not think that eyesight and vision are the same thing, and he is helping people understand the eye-brain connection. I can tell you personally, he has changed my life. Maybe you've seen it on these podcasts. Sometimes I blink really hard. Is that big a deal? No. But it actually affected the way that I interact with the world. I felt like I couldn't have a good focus, and I felt uncomfortable in certain settings. And it was actually something that Bryce was able to help out with literally 15 minutes of exercises a day. Things like focusing on your eye, like looking out further. We could dive into that, and everything that he does with Screen Fit, which is his online program for this, and with his intensives that he has in Bethesda, Maryland. But much more than that, I have become colleagues, I would say, friends with a man that can juggle a lot of things, calm, composed, and heart forward. And to me, that is as good as it gets. I mean, he never seems rattled. He is always patient. I see the relationship that he has with his family and how strong that is. I've been in his office and see how everyone looks up to him and respects him, and how he respects them. And I see how his business is thriving without any greed and always trying to focus on impacting the world. So, Bryce, man, it has been a wild pleasure to know you over the last 6 months. If you're not familiar with this man, get hip. You, your family, your friends, all can benefit from what he's doing. And, follow him on Instagram, listen to him on podcasts that he's been on. You could benefit just from that. If you want to dive deeper. This is a shameless plug for someone that is doing good for the world, and I'm stoked about it. And I'm excited to get to know the guy behind all this even a little better. So, Bryce, thanks for coming on today, man.
Dude, what an amazing intro. Thank you so much for the love. The love is mutually reciprocated 10x. I mean, you are absolutely such a genuinely great person. And from the moment we met, I was like, man, I need to surround myself around Sean as much as possible. So appreciate this opportunity. Love all that you've done to support me personally, professionally, spiritually, and excited as our bromance matures and evolves over time.
Yeah, me too, Ben. Thank you for that. And I know we relate on this. So we felt like there's like a connection of like, okay, someone else that is doing good for the world, moving with their heart and trying to be the best version of themselves to help other people. We also made it a point to spend time with each other, right? Like prioritize phone calls, in-person work, things like that. How important is who you spend time with to your personal happiness?
It's everything. And there's so many quotes that say you are a compilation of the 3 or 5 people you spend the most time with. But, there's so much that we can't control in life and so much that we can control. And if you're around people who light that fire within you to do better, to be happier, to change the world, to be heart-centric in all that you do, you're just going to continue to evolve and grow which is going to help you support and help others. And that's really why we're all here, is to leave this world a better place than we found it. And who you hang with is more important than anything.
What are you doing, like, tactically to do that? And maybe talk about, I'm curious what you do tactically to do that, and how you're, like, measuring if someone's a good person, or is there not a measurement and maybe it's something else?
I've done a lot of work the last 2-3 years, but really year more than ever, on energy, spirituality, and living my best life. And I feel like I have this barometer now where, like, I can immediately tell with somebody whether they emit positive energy and are a good person, or the complete opposite, and it's like steer away. And, you know, I think with a lot of people, I'm of course biased as a functional eye doctor, but eye contact to me matters more than anything. And they say eyes are the windows to the soul, but I really feel like I can tell from somebody just in a short interaction the type of person they are, and whether this is somebody I want to be around. But then on top of that, I mean, any type of resistance or contraction that you feel in anything in life, we need to unpack that and figure out why that is. And so tactically, I mean, I'm in an amazing place where we have so many people, businesses, opportunities coming at us. And to me, anything, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And if I'm hanging out with somebody and it's not a hell yes, I want to see them again, that just lets me know, all right, I'm going to politely find a different path to take.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. It's simple but not easy, right? Like that concept, simple. I think we've all heard that, but implementing that, like, it sounds like you check in with yourself and you're like, it's something of like, oh, like when I hang out with someone, do I leave energized and like, dude, let's make plans for the next thing? Or do we leave, more like, that's enough of them for a little bit. And what I'm finding in my life right now is the more you focus on abundance, the more abundance is there. And, like you said, once you start to notice all the opportunities and abundance in your life, discernment becomes the skill set, right? Where, yesterday was a good example. Woke up at 4:30, did my meditation, did my journal, read my book, hit the gym, was behind the laptop before 6:30, worked for 3 hours, then worked a day. I finished the work day and my brother goes, dude, we're going to drive an hour into the city and go to this holiday party with my band. And I was like, it's bedtime. What do you mean? I was like, it's bedtime. And, it's just an example of like, you can, like, there's no wrong decision. Go to bed, read for 20 minutes and go to sleep, or go to a holiday party. What I found is my happiness relates to my decision-making and my acceptance of my decision-making. So I went to a holiday party from 8 to 11 last night. I hadn't been up to 11 except when the Redskins went to overtime Commanders went to overtime 2 weeks ago. And besides that might have been the only time of the year. Yeah. And I just knew the things that were going to be affected by that, right? So my morning gym routine got pushed. So my morning work before my meeting start was squeezed. And I have a stack of emails right now, usually would make me anxious. I will get to them right after this call because I had a 2-hour block. But I found that for me personally, like once you understand the consequence of your decision making,
and we are what we repeatedly do. And you are, more than anybody I've ever met, like the living proof of discipline and staying true to yourself and knowing yourself. And your morning routine, for anybody who doesn't know, is absolutely nuts. But I see how it tees you up for your day. Yeah, there we go.
Beast of habit, baby.
But I mean, and discipline, people look at discipline as like restriction. And it's the opposite. It's freedom. It's freedom from impulses and chaos, and it can lead to this inner peace and this joy in life. If you went out to holiday parties till 11 at night every night, you'd be a mess. You feel dysregulated. You wouldn't be able to maintain that discipline and routine. But I'm proud of you for recognizing that opportunity doesn't happen much with your brother, and so take it, right? But then get back on track with what you know is gonna keep you dialed in.
To be honest, I felt like a kid last night. I literally called my mom and I was like, Mom, should I go hang out with Jay or should I get some rest? And she was like, when are you going to see him after this? I was like, the wedding in 9 months. And she's like, there's your answer. Go hang out with your brother. All right. You said two things that might have slipped past people that were just absolute brilliance. So one is that discipline creates freedom. I want to hear you expand about that. And then you said, and it's freedom to, no, freedom from, right? And those are the two things I want you to expand upon. So discipline creating freedom. And what's the difference between, let's actually start with what's the difference between freedom to and freedom from?
Yeah. This confused me so much when I first heard it. And I forget what book it was. You'll probably be able to pull this, but it talks about freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of purpose. And I remember
the Almanac and Aval Rafikon.
Okay, thank you. You're so well read. I love this. And I remember thinking, like, what is freedom of, or freedom from, or freedom? Like, what does all this mean? And freedom really allows us to find joy. And when we find joy, then we're not constricted. And I mean, you mentioned at the beginning of this about abundance. I remember there was a period in my life where I was just so focused on abundance in so many areas of life, but I was so focused on it that I was so myopic, I was so narrowed in that I wasn't finding it. And then when I stepped back and realized like abundance is within me and around me, I just have to be able to be open to it and access it and find it. Then it was almost a focus on the discipline, focus on what I need to do to get me to the best place, and then that will all come. And now I feel like I have found freedom of and from all of these different things. Yeah. And I was at a conference, a functional medicine conference a couple years ago, and they asked a question in the group, where do you feel like there's the most scarcity in your life? Freedom of time, freedom of money, and freedom of purpose. And immediately I was like, well, I need more money to be able to do what I want to do and make the impact that I have, and there's not enough. And I think about that probably daily now, because it's absolutely not the case anymore. Now it's time. Like, there's not enough time to do all that I want to do. And when you're focusing on the right things, then everything else comes. Yeah.
So I've thought about the resources that we have a lot in life. We have money, which you talked about, commodity of any sort, time, and energy. I think those are the three foundational resources. It feels like people focus on money and then time and energy last.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, it's actually not money, it's time. People say time's our most valuable resource. This is actually what I'm writing about right now. I think energy is the most important resource, because a thought experiment that Albert Einstein used to do that I like to think about is you think about the extremes to try to figure something out. So imagine you had all the time, but no money or energy. I don't think that'd be a good experience of life. I think if I had a lot of energy, but no time or money, I'd still be feeling pretty good.
Totally hear you. And I agree. And I think what's fascinating is, like, I'm running 3 companies. I have so much on my plate. I couldn't have more coming at me. And yet, like, I am more excited and energized than I've ever been. Yeah. And I'm so just present in ways that I never was. I mean, there was a period pre-COVID where I remember being on a follow-up consult after an evaluation, and it was on the phone at the time with a parent of a kid who was struggling with hidden functional vision problems impacting reading and learning and academics, and he wasn't even close to hitting his potential. And I remember pulling up my phone and actually checking a stat on one of the Redskins players and whether he was in for this weekend, and I stopped myself in my tracks and I was like, this is terrible. I'm not all in with this patient. What am I doing? And now, fast forward years later, when I've restructured everything within my business, everything that we do, and everything within myself, I look at every opportunity with every evaluation and every conversation as, wow, I have the opportunity to change this person's life. And if I'm not 100% all in with this, like, I shouldn't even step into that conversation, because nobody deserves that.
Yeah.
So energy.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. So it sounds like your biggest peace and happiness like you're relating it to your level of presence.
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful. I had a pretty deep weekend, this last weekend. I think I was telling you about it. I just walked for 3 days and it fucking snowed on me. I was wearing like the same shoes that you saw me at dinner, minimalist mesh shoes. And it's like 3 inches of snow. I was like, sweet.
Did you sleep, by the way?
We ended up changing plans. So we didn't do the whole park. My buddy's back was hurt. So it was actually, everything happens for a reason, right? So then I felt like resistance for a second. I was like, do we switch it? Whatever. So he went with me for 1 day and then we doubled back and went to the car. And then I had 2 days out there by myself. That was peaceful. That was peaceful, man. I feel like I just got reborn. Like I'm ready to go. Which is something as we feel that we don't have time, make the time. Like at one of the busiest weeks I've had in a while, we just hired a new full-time employee. We're onboarding 3 clients. And my number one priority always is serving current clients, because without that, you have nothing, which means diving into operations. I'm training up a COO, hired a new project manager. We're in it. I took Friday off, and Saturday and Sunday, I usually work a few hours. I ended up getting back midday Sunday, so 2.5 days. But you create all that time for yourself. And now I'm going through a busy week where, man, I've been up and back from DC to Baltimore twice and then up to New York, podcast and normal life and stuff. And you just feel that space. But anyways, I was so happy out there. It was cold, wet. I ended up not having nearly enough food. I ate a peanut butter and honey sandwich for 8 straight meals. And, I didn't change my clothes. I was stinky and I was happy as hell. Happy as hell, man. And I just started thinking that, quiet, your emotions bubble up. I felt like I'm being a little too surface level, and it kind of like what you're saying, yeah, I'm touching up on a lot of things, but versus going deep. And, I wrote a lot about this weekend, that what's the most important thing to me is presence. And again, it's a simple but not easy thing. You want to create a memory, be present. You want to enjoy something, be present. You want to create impact, be present. I feel you. On my 4th podcast ever, I checked my email on the podcast. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. Right. Yeah. And in my brain, I tricked myself I maintained eye contact, whatever. I thought I was being extra productive, and instead, I just sliced the energy in half,
I thought, and similar story, I thought I was present my whole life. And I remember there were times I'd be with my kids and just stuck in my head thinking about the future that hasn't happened yet, or the past and something that I could have done differently. Yet I didn't know I wasn't present. I didn't even know what that meant. And for me, it got really simple, where it was if you get into your heart and out of your head, you find presence.
How do you practice that?
I have Marie, absolutely, a spiritual energetics coach who's changed my life. She's incredible. A lot of it really started with discipline and meditation and working out and eating super clean and just being on top of what I can. But this week alone, my routine got messed up. I usually meditate in the sauna. We're having some work done at our house, so the sauna wasn't plugged in. I was, today's Thursday. This was on Tuesday. I remember midway through the day feeling I just don't feel grounded. What's going on with me? What's happening? And then realized, oh shit, I forgot to meditate today because I didn't get in the sauna. I don't think I've missed more than 2 days of meditation in the last 2 years. And I make it so I do 13 minutes. I make it simple and make it doable, but literally I need that to calm my mind and to really to just feel grounded. And I felt so lost. And so that feeling throughout the day was enough to say, I don't want to feel like this, and I can choose not to. So the certain things that I do to stay disciplined allows that happiness to come out.
Yeah. You have a palpable presence.
Thank you.
It's really cool. You also have a skill of pattern recognition, right? You're saying, I didn't feel this way. Or I'm feeling off. Let's go back to it. I think that's where habits, are subconscious, right? So what I've realized, you can't force a habit. Like, for example, it's never on my calendar to work out. And I've never missed a day of exercise ever. Not one, ever. And I never will. I never, ever will. And again, sometimes it's how quick can I do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups in a shower, right? Cool. Sometimes it's, I'm going to go take a walk without headphones for 30 minutes or what, like, it doesn't have to be hard, but it's like a habit, right? We need to figure out how to build these habits. And I worked with behavioral scientists from Dan Ariely's school in Duke University and Silicon Valley people that work. Behavioral scientists are the people that make social media apps addictive and all that. And we started an app called The Fabulous that blew up like 6 years ago. And the biggest thing they said for building habits, 2 things. 1, making a rule to start because motivation comes after you start. 2, celebrate the win. So my dad's exercised 331 straight days. He sent me the video this morning. Why does he do it? After he exercises, he likes it. He doesn't like it. I don't care. He sends me a video telling me how great the exercise was. And guess what? Try to celebrate something on video and fake it. Like, you fake it and you still feel good. You're like, he's like, Sean, what's up, man? I want to let you know, like, it was a great workout. And you're like programming yourself. And like, this is a guy that hadn't worked out in 25 years. Like, he had bad habits, right? Like, it's psychologically, he's like salivating to work out when he wakes up because he wants that emotional payoff at the end. So your skill of pattern recognition is really good, whether it's innate or practiced. Like, I see that with you.
I literally had this conversation with my son at bedtime last night. He was talking about it being too cold out, and he's on this elite travel flag football team, and he's like, I can't go tomorrow. My hands it's hard to catch in the cold weather. And I said to him, I made it really simple. I'm like, buddy, motivation gets you going, but habit is what keeps you going. And you need to make this a habit where no matter what, you show up and practice is there for a reason, and just get 0.5% better every day in terms of sticking to that habit. And then you'll see, it's incredible what we can accomplish.
Yeah. It's so true. No one's going to sit in bed at bedtime, tired from the day, in a warm blanket, 72 degrees, perfect in the house.
Right.
Probably a big bed for a young guy. Like, he's got a nice room. Like, no one's going to be like, you know what I want to do? I want to just sprint in the cold and have my fingers go numb, you know?
Right. By the way, his room, you would love his room. It's Commanders, everything everywhere. Good. After being Washington football team, everything everywhere. And then previously Redskins, we've had to buy 1 million bedspreads, but.
Well, you told me that's like, dude, that's important. Like, those are, you grew up where it's like Redskins forever. Like, you got to give them that identity because it'll likely be Commanders for at least a long ass time, if not forever.
I just don't want to change it again. I knew we'd be talking about Commanders, Redskins.
We'd have to. I literally found my brother's McLaurin jersey, which is funny. It's I'm feeling self-conscious. I stand up for all these podcasts, good for my energy. And I was talking to Kelly Starrett, and he was talking about how if you can't lift your knee to like 120 degrees, you're like limited in mobility. And I'm just doing some marches, and I'm like, dude, nowhere close.
120.
So like, I'm standing here just like lifting my knee, like 90 is like, it's like a little past 90 I can get it, but his is like, he could stand and just like pop it up to his chest.
Well, first of all, if he's saying that, we got to all follow that and get to that point because he's the GOAT.
He's literally the GOAT. Like, it was so funny. When I hurt my back, the one piece of advice he gave me was be smart, but don't get caught doing what you think is rehab. Build strength. And I was like, and I took that as like get back to deadlifting and, Romanian deadlifts, like, all like actually just build the muscle back. Cause I could talk about Kelly for a while. He's a good man. So we talked about the freedom to versus freedom from. I think that's important. I think everyone realizes they want freedom to. Hopefully people are lucky enough to get it. Then they realize, just being able to do more things, you still have your mind that you need to get away from. The other thing that you talked about was, when you have discipline, you create freedom, right? And I thought about that as my workout this morning. So I put my phone in a gym bag in a central location in a gym, in a random LA Fitness. So my headphones could cover the whole gym and it's zipped away. So I don't touch it, right? I was listening to Nirvana because, been on a little Dave Grohl kick, anything that he's in. And I had a 90-minute alarm go. So I just worked out in the ether, right? I wasn't looking at the clock, whatever. And then when the alarm kicked, I grabbed my bag and I left, but I like that, the discipline of I'm going to the gym and I have this 90 minutes created all this freedom. So is that kind of the way you're thinking about it, or did you think about it in a different?
No, entirely the same. Every night, no matter what, I have my routine before bed, but one of the big pieces of my routine is lay out the clothes I'm going to work out in the morning, put them in the bathroom so that I don't turn the light on super early and wake my wife up and get yelled at. But then know, like, this is a decision you're making before you even go to bed, because that next morning, I mean, you want to be able to focus on self-respect. And self-respect grows as you learn to say no to yourself, right? And that's through discipline. So if you're able to not decide, how do I feel today? Or am I too tired? Or what am I going to do? It's just, no, I'm waking up, I'm working out, and this is what I'm doing. That habit is what and that discipline is what allows so much to unfold. And I love that you set a timer, because that's just, that allowed you to find presence in that workout, right? Like you were just, you're in the flow state.
Well, so first of all, I don't know, again, whether you study this stuff or not, like I just had the privilege to study this, like with behavioral scientists, like through work. I say privilege, like, cause it just, it's like if I ran marketing for an eye doctor, I've learned more about eyes than I would ever think about. I just ran marketing for, a habit development company. And one of the rules is no decisions in the moment, right? So when you wake up, you tell yourself you're tired. You say, hey, actually, unfortunately, this is my inner talk in the morning. We don't make decisions in the moment. I made the decision yesterday that I'm going to wake up and exercise. And the way you do that is, simple things like laying out your clothes. Like that stuff is like elite stuff, but it's basic, right? I think people always talk about, right? Like successful is doing the basic stuff over and over. So, I mean, I really, really love that. But what I found this weekend when we were talking about the presence was even stuff like walking in the woods for a couple of days. Sometimes if I have a goal, Bryce, so I was telling you I might do the whole Shenandoah National Park. I have to hit my certain miles, my splits, my times. I actually realized that wasn't the experience I was looking for. That'd be a great fitness thing. I got much less fitness. That would have been 38 miles a day. And I did 60 miles over 2.5 days this way. The way I did it was I literally pulled up to a trailhead. I knew I could, whatever. I knew this was an opening to the park with endless possibilities. I never looked at the map. I never had a goal. My phone did not leave my zipped up pocket. That was actually in a backpack. So I would have had, I'll actually be honest, it was in a vest. So I would have to like unclip the vest, like take the whole thing off. Like it would have like broke it. Like if I did it subconsciously, like all that work would have like broken my subconscious like spell that I was in and like woken me up. Be like, oh wait, you shouldn't do this, right? Versus if it's in my pocket, I'm pulling it out and looking at it before I'm even breaking that loop. But the no time thing was magical, dude. Like I literally just started noticing it getting darker and I was like, oh, I need to probably like head back towards the car. Like you just get lost out there. And I think that's what discipline does, where I even have like a little timer that's going to pop up when there's like 5 or 10 minutes left in this podcast. That way we can soak in versus me keep like looking in the corner, you know what I mean? And trying to like get the clock to pop up or something. Like, I think there's an element of trying to live without time that could be supportive to us in the flow state.
For sure. And there's a quote from the Dalai Lama about, I'm going to butcher this, but how a disciplined mind leads to happiness, something like that, and an undisciplined mind leads to suffering. And just staying disciplined, I mean, you have power over your mind, not the outside events and shit that's around you. And that's where you find strength, is when you when you tap into that power over your mind. And I mean, I
Yeah.
know I would not find happiness doing what you did, and just find it when it's dark out, head back. But the fact that you know that that's what allows you to grow and evolve, like that, I have so
Yeah.
much respect for that.
Well, I want to dive into something with you that I was kind of preparing for this call.
Yeah.
So you have a ton going on where theoretically you could spend every minute of 24 hours highly productive. Sleeping, sauna, meditation, spending time with your wife, spending time with your kids, spending time with your friends, growing your business 1, business 2, business 3, podcast, whatever the hell you want to do for hobbies, like just watching highlights of the Redskins from last year, like whatever is gonna make you happy. You could be productive throughout the whole day. Inevitably, we bump into times that don't feel like they're a good use of time. You're sitting in traffic and whatever. You're in a meeting, you're talking to someone, you're interviewing someone, you could tell it's going nowhere. Like, how do you stay present? Because I've now seen you in a variety of situations and I've never seen you lose your presence. Do I need to go to an intensive for this? What do I have to do to make this happen?
I mean, I will say a lot of how I operate is based off of like the work I've done in the past, but also the work that I help facilitate for others with optimizing the iBrain connection and vision performance training. Yeah. And I've trained my brain to be able to get into flow state as my default. And as crazy as that sounds.
And you think this has to do with like the eyes and like
without question. So when we study flow state in pro athletes, and we work with a bunch of pro athletes in every sport imaginable, it's this heightened sense of central and peripheral processing, where we have these two pathways in our brain, they're wired together, and when we're under stress, when we're in a fight or flight response, we get locked in with tunnel vision, we become really central. We can flip a switch. Any brain can be trained and taught to get to a place where we can access periphery and understand sense of self and space so much more fluidly and accurately. But I've done so much work with vision performance training that I really feel like my default is just to be in the state of, I know exactly where everything is around me.
It is.
I can remove roadblocks that are blocking, my ability to access certain areas of visual processing and overall sensory integration. And so if I'm in a situation like you shared where it's an interview that's going nowhere, like I'm going to just try and connect with this person on a deeper level, even though I've already decided they're not right for us. But there's something that I can take from this scenario. So I think it's more like you do enough work focusing on something like presence, you figure out how you can see the bright side of any situation and how to make it more meaningful.
I need you to shamelessly talk about what you do more, because I know you well enough that you're just out here for the better of the world. I want to know the relationship between flow state. So first of all, for everyone out there, I know Bryce and I kind of using this word interchangeably. We're connecting presence to happiness and peace, right? Also, I think the word happiness I use because whatever. I think happiness, peace would be a better word. So we're connecting presence to peace, and we're using flow and presence almost interchangeably. So to connect that for the listeners out there. So that's why I'm so curious about this flow state. I don't know how your work relates to flow state, and talk to me more about like the central and periphery. Everything that I don't even want to say.
Vision is our dominant sensory system. That's what guides and leads, and it gives us an opportunity to unlock so much potential. I preach we can use vision to regulate our nervous system for any brain at any age in any scenario. And unfortunately, our environment presents so much stress on our bodies. But from a vision perspective, the junk lighting, the digital age that we're all in where screen time has become the new pandemic, toxicities from the environment, so much of what shifts in terms of how we see, how we process, how we show up in the world is based off of this reaction to visual stress from our environment. So when that happens and when we become that much more locked in, like we're looking through paper towel holders and World War III is going on around us, but we have no idea, we literally can get to a place where we access areas of our brain that we would be suppressing or bypassing. And that's so true with somebody who's had a concussion or a head injury, where vision's represented in every lobe of our brain, and more than half of our brain's real estate is dedicated to the processing of vision. When there's a child who's struggling with the eye movements necessary for reading, it's like they're so locked in, they need motor overflow, they have to get away, it looks like they're not paying attention. Or with somebody who just when they're driving feels like all of a sudden the world's closing in on them, they're going over a bridge or tunnel and they're aware of what they weren't aware of and they become even more locked in. So many aspects of mental health, of happiness, of consciousness are related to vision and how our eyes, brain, and body are integrating and processing information and working together. And this is something just like we exercise and strengthen our bodies, we can exercise and strengthen this eye-brain connection, yet most people don't even have a file on it. And so from that standpoint, when we get to flow state, when we can rely on vision to give us an advantage, it's almost as if, and we work with athletes to slow down the fastball coming down the pipe at them so they can have a better understanding of not just where it is, but where it's going to be, to have more accurate eye contact. Or when pressure is on, how we function. Unless we're doing work to really be able to access vision unconsciously, we're going to operate differently. So this is what we do all day, every day with every patient we work with, because I'm biased, but there is nothing more important than vision unlocking our potential and getting us to show up in the world the way that we all deserve and to avoid all of this unnecessary struggling.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
It does. And I like to, I don't know if you know Sam Harris, the way he discerns information is by experience, right? So first thing you said is, hey, the visual sense is like the dominant sense. I don't need to like go to a study to know that. Like I just experience that, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't really care what the studies say, because like that's how I experience it. And I would say next would be like what we hear, then probably what we say, then taste, and probably last is scent for me personally. So I totally see that connection. Now I'm thinking about myself in flow, and I do feel like my vision, my ability to focus or not focus, sense or not sense, is significantly heightened in flow. And you're saying we can train ourselves to be like that, which makes sense.
Absolutely. And even something as simple as like somebody's glasses prescription increasing every year. It's increasing because we're taking a reactive model, addressing the symptom, not the problem. But far away often gets blurry because of a near problem, whether it's eye coordination, tracking, eye focusing, whatever it is. If we can address the problem, then the symptom improves. So what that means is when we can improve somebody's the ability for them to use the inside and outside muscles of their eyes in synergy and get their brain out of a stress state, clarity improves. People's prescriptions can often decrease. Their clarity can improve doing the right type of work for the right reasons. And so from that standpoint, when we're in a flow state, we're literally we have that much more rapport with space. And we know not only where we are, but where other things are. And that allows us to react and respond to visual input that much more accurately. And when you talk to elite level athletes or read what somebody like Michael Jordan says about when they are in the flow state, it's almost like nothing else exists. They can filter out the noise and they're so locked in. We can train brains to get to that place.
It's so interesting. I've never made this correlation. I mean, I haven't sat down with a book for hours in a while. The last time I did was on a flight to Los Angeles. I sat down, read a book, and then the plane landed, right? And think about how many times you're sitting there and you're like, oh, my back hurts. When's it going to end? I'm thirsty. I didn't go to the bathroom, drink, adjust. I gobbled this book up. I actually landed and quit my job and called a flight back right away. That's when I started my company. And it's like, think about that amazing thing that comes from flow state versus how different my life would be if I read for 5 minutes and then nodded off or was like, fuck this. Like I was just locked in and,
What book was that?
4 Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss.
Change your life.
Have you read it?
No, but I need to. I know. I mean, I
100%.
know all the principles behind it. I know Tim Ferriss is the man, but I need to read that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It just makes you, what changed it was, it just shook you out of the matrix, you know? It was probably the first book that I like really devoured. That's like, oh, life's not just like you are the designer of life. Actually, a little bit of change topic, but, I kept listening to this thing on the drive back from my hike this weekend. It's a 5-minute speech called Dreams by Alan Watts. And I have not talked to anyone about it, and I just need to talk to you about it because like it's a crazy thought. He literally was like, so Taoists believe that like God is within us, right? God is not like some dude like with a long beard or whatever. And this is not like religious God. This is like the creator God. The energy God, right? So he goes, okay, so imagine you're God and you just create the perfect life of nirvana. Everything's perfect. Great. And maybe you dream it and you say, I want tonight's dream to be 75 years so I can live a whole life and then wake up and, you know, and that's what you want to dream every night. Well, you'll start to get bored with that, right? And now we're God getting bored with just living everything perfect. But we're God who knows that we're God. So we say, throw some chaos at me in tonight's dream. I'm going to live for 75 years, but give me some chaos. I know I'm God, so I know I'm just going to wake up and I'm going to be God, right? Like it's all good. And he goes, and you start to do that and you're like, oh, that was a wild ride, like a wild 75-year experience. Let's do it again, right? You do that enough. One of God's dreams is going to be being Sean Greenspan in 2025 right now. One of them is going to be Dr. Bryce Appelbaum because there's enough volume of chaos, right? Or, not chaos, but like, you know,
disorder.
What's that called? Yeah. Disorder that like it's going to occur. And the whole thing that he was talking about was, Alan Watts was talking about was that he goes, well, that is what's happening to you. And you just forgot that you're God, right? That's what he thinks, right? So, I don't even know if that's what he thinks. It's just like a thought experiment. And coming back to it, like when I read that 4-Hour Work Week, it's that book mentions nothing about God. It's not a spiritual book, but this man just designs his life. Like he goes, oh, I'm going to go on vacation. What skill do I want to learn? I'm going to go to, you know, Mexico and learn how to box. I'm going to go to, you know, this place and learn classical piano. You know, it just, I don't know. The book lit me up and helped me feel like I could create. And I think when we're creating, and I know that you feel this way as an entrepreneur, like that's like the highest like energetic state, you know, and goes back to like happiness and flow.
Totally. And the stretching that we can put ourselves in or ask for to then see the other side of that being such amazing growth and learning. Like if we're continuing to evolve and peel back the layers of the onion like that, then we can create in such a unique way because we're just a different person than where we were and we can see what's possible.
Yeah. We're going to have to wrap this up at some point because man, I think it could go forever.
Dude, I love talking with you. It's just, we're hanging out and people get to listen. It's perfect.
Yeah. And we made it through without talking about Cliff Kingsbury's poor play calling, injuries. We missed all that, which is good.
But it is something that is very upsetting and disappointing, but
I know, right? I had to drop it in. Bryce, man, this was the highlight of my week. I'm really stoked about it. Also, pretty cool you get to do this, and then I know you speak with Marie after this, so you're gonna have a good day today. Today's gonna be just good energy.
And we can structure our days to have good days, right? Like find what brings you happiness and surround yourself with more of that.
Let that soak in. Create a good, imagine you did that every morning. You said, how do I make today a good day? Objectively. Boop, 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 boop. Do it.
Actually, part of my discipline is I have a gratitude journal, and every morning you talk about what you're grateful for. There's 3 different lines, and then there's the next 3 lines is what would make today a great day. And I every day now help pinpoint what I want to accomplish, and at the end of the day reflect on it.
That's like, where is your journal in your house?
It's actually right next to the door, so that I never leave in the morning without making sure I journal in there. And at night when I like lock up, turn the lights off, all of that, I make sure I see it.
Mm.
And again, if I miss a day, I've probably missed 3 days in the last year. I feel lost. And I'm like, I don't like this feeling. I'm going to choose not to have this feeling whenever I can.
Dude, there's just an unbelievable, and I don't like that word unbelievable. There's an unbelievable amount of like wisdom there, man. Like, just like, you're just like, again, that right there is like the discipline of happiness, right? That's what I want people to feel motivated behind, is like, happiness is a discipline, and discipline creates freedom, and discipline's a word we should want, not, run from, like many do. And like, it's like, you have that journal there. I put my journal on my pillow. It's pretty hard to get in bed and sleep without reading what I wrote.
Yeah.
And then I put my phone down. I put my journal on top of my phone. It's pretty hard to grab my phone. I don't forget to grab my phone. That'll never happen, so it's pretty hard I would have to be a moron to miss my journaling practice every day.
I haven't really thought about this in a while, but as a kid, one of the clear life lessons that my father always just beat down on me was happiness is a choice. And I remember at the time thinking, like, what are you even talking about? No, like I didn't get picked for the soccer team. I'm unhappy. That wasn't a choice. I didn't have a choice there, but I now totally get it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's something that we can all choose to live our purpose, but to really speak from our heart, and then happiness becomes almost the default.
Yeah. It's your default.
Yeah.
I hope it's mine.
I'm happy as hell. I love it.
That's good, man. That's good. That makes me happy. Bryce, man, thanks for the time. This won't be the last.
Thank you so much. Let's get a bunch of these. And we could actually talk about, we talked about the perfect stuff today.
Yeah, we did. All right, man. Have a great one.
Appreciate you. Talk soon.